Reinforcements have arrived, finally, in the Caribbean. In a desperate attempt, the remaining German forces, after the defeat on the eastern seaboard, are trying to intercept them before they can reinforce the landing forces. Unfortunately for them, while they are bringing 3 battleships, the Aegir, the Fridtjof and the Scharnhorst, they are up against the Kansas and the New Hampshire. Kansas being refitted with 18-inch guns, New Hampshire still with her 16-inch gun layout, as well as the Delaware, the North Carolina, and the Rhode Island, and the Truxtun, 4 North Carolina-class battleships. The fleet is only escorted by the Minneapolis and the Higgins, so the battle line is a little short on screens. And the Germans are, as usual, bringing a vast number of screening ships, which means we are going to have to deal with those first. But we will see how the battleships are operating without a large screening force. Okay, we have spotted the enemy, I believe. There we go. That would be one of the battleships. I formed 2 battle lines. I've got the New Hampshire in the lead here, followed by North Carolina and Truxtun. And they will be going this way. And we've got a second line consisting of Kansas, Rhode Island, Delaware, and the heavy cruiser Minneapolis, while the Higgins is on the way to do scouting duty. So right now we do have to be obviously careful with torpedoes, because the Germans have a large screening force. So I'm less concerned about their battleships and more concerned about their torpedoes, really. But we don't want the 2 lines to get too far from each other. We've dropped speed to 24 knots for now. We'll just have to see where exactly the German formation is going. So we'll maintain some distance here. I just like having 2 different groups to be able to navigate separately when it comes to torpedo dodging. And there we have the German battle line, and all these smoke screens around are going to be the light cruisers. So. And the heavy cruisers. Lots of cruisers in the German force that's attacking us here. We'll see who is going to be able to draw first blood and actually manage to get a firing solution and get some shots on target. Yeah, and Higgins is going to close in, trying to maybe drop some torpedoes from long range, but mostly just spot targets for the big guns, because I don't want her to be I don't want her to be at the front line, obviously. She's just a little destroyer. And those were Kansas's 18-inch guns opening up, and we appear to start landing some hits. I don't even know what we've hit, but an 18-inch gun hitting something. Where was it? This one. Yeah, that hurts. Okay, enemy force has mostly gone, and whatever we just hit has... Whatever we just... Oh, that was an 18-inch on a main belt penetration. Kansas just blew, I think, one of the enemy battleships out of the water. I have no idea what that did, but that 18-inch gun went straight through the main belt of something, exploded in there, and did... I think this is the highest number I've ever seen in... I've ever seen in Ultimate Admiral so far in my time. But whatever it was, it no longer is, because Kansas's 18-inchers just obliterated that. Let's slow down slightly with the lead group. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. And again, Higgins is going into scout. She does have torpedoes ready if she needs to. But right now the whole German force has smoked up after their first couple of salvos seem to have wreaked absolute havoc in the enemy formations. So let's see. You've got New Hampshire here and Kansas there. Let's adjust the speeds again for 24 knots both groups. Full battle line, and there is the enemy battleship. So Higgins can get, I think that is probably close enough. So we're going to get Higgins to turn around, get her torpedoes away, and we may actually even have to wait for the smoke screen to dissipate here before we actually can start targeting things again. But Higgins got torpedoes away, so now she can screen and get our battle lines something to shoot at. I think this is a good distance. We are at we're 12 kilometers. I think 10 kilometers is about the sweet spot in terms of targeting here. 13 kilometers, still relatively far away. Higgins is drawing fire, so she's going to maneuver frequently. The other job Higgins obviously has is to spot enemy torpedoes if she needs to. We're going to smoke her up, which means she's not going to be able to spot anymore, and get her to turn around because she is drawing a bit of fire here. And we are... I'm happy with that course. We will see if any of the big guns is able to land some hits. Let's see if we can... oh yeah, lots of targets here. Where are the Higgins torpedoes? There they are. Let's see if she can land a torpedo hit anywhere. That should be the first. Maybe this torpedo looks relatively promising on whatever that is, a light cruiser potentially. Nah, she might get away. Let's see. Or maybe one of the targets behind. Okay, the light cruisers definitely avoided the torpedo. And this one here may be getting away as well. And there are, I think, somebody mentioned enemy torpedoes. Not sure where. Have we got enemy torpedoes in the water? I'm not sure I've seen any. We did get a torpedo hit from Higgins. Well done, Higgins. So she managed to get a torpedo hit in. We'll get her to turn around, keep screening, and the battleships remain in line. We may have to slightly adjust the course of the second group here, because it looks like their scouting groups are now getting a bit more aggressive. And I do not want to run into any torpedoes with the battle groups. So let's get the first group to drop speed to 23 knots. And the distance, that was an over-penetration from a 6-inch. Distance is now under 10 kilometers, so we'll open up a little bit again. I do want to keep it at around 10 kilometers. That's a good distance for us. And we should be reasonably safe from enemy torpedoes at that range. Yeah, the enemy light forces are now trying to close. So we're going to get the Kansas's group up to 28 knots and try to open up the distance a bit, while the other group, I think, is still relatively far, so they can maintain their course. And Higgins lays a bit of a smoke screen. That is all good, and then she can go back scouting if necessary. So mostly right now it's the secondaries landing a couple of hits. And yeah, these are all the 5-inch guns landing hits on the light cruisers, but I think they are mostly after torpedo hits here. And I think now the range is good again. 8.9 kilometers, can still be a little larger. Yep, that was an over-penetration on a destroyer. Basically blew it out of the water. Okay, they are charging. The scouting groups are charging, definitely. They are trying to make something happen with the torpedoes here. So keeping open the distance is the right decision. And that destroyer, that destroyer is now being targeted by pretty much everything. So it just blew up catastrophically. Okay, let's get back on course, get all the guns on target. While we do have the Minneapolis here bringing up the rear, and she has got a much higher rate of fire, so that should all be okay. Whoa, we've just hit something there. That was, what was that even? That was a 16-inch gun on a light cruiser. That was a big fireball. But I think we are good in terms of distance. We can drop speed again back to 24 knots with the Kansas group, and watch the fireworks. We're getting a little far away, so we're gonna have to start turning the groups around. We're still landing good hits, but mostly with the secondaries. So, whoa! What did we just hit? Hang on, we hit. Was it one of the enemy battleships potentially? These were. This is even more than I can see here. 16-inch. This looks like a whole bunch of. What was that? No, that was a light cruiser. One of the light cruisers has just been obliterated by 16-inch shell fire. Yep, couple more good hits. The heavy cruisers and light cruisers here do not stand a chance when these large shells are hitting. If they can get them on target, then it's fireworks, and they have no chance of actually even returning the fire. So this is a good distance that we're operating within here. German ships are running into each other here in the smoke, trying to get away from the battle lines. And we are going to change course slightly, maintain. This is a little far now, 13 kilometers. So let's get a bit closer. And Higgins is not going to torpedo, but maybe she can drop another couple of torpedoes in there for now. Other than that, she will just keep scouting. Yeah, the German lines are in complete disarray at this point, and I think the big battleships are even firing high explosive at the cruisers because if they can hit them even with high explosive shells, it's going to cause massive amounts of damage. Yep, that was another. What did we even hit there? Yep, that was a 16-inch shell going through the main belt of one of the cruisers. That was a heavy cruiser even, and it did not stand a chance. These things just blow up when they come under fire. As long as we don't get too close and risk running into torpedoes, I think we are relatively good here. Speed down to 23 knots and close the range a little bit. The Higgins, while the battle line is absolutely massacring the cruisers, is going after the Fridtjof, one of the enemy battleships. We'll see if we can get close enough for a torpedo run, while the battle line is absolutely dismembering the enemy cruiser force here. There's still the Aegir and the Scharnhorst with one of their escorts out there, but I do want to get the torpedo threat out of the way first before we go after them. What's our distance now? Range 9.5. That's a good range. And the second group is coming after. And there come Kansas's 18-inch shells. These are monsters. If they hit any of these cruisers, they're done for. And even the 5-inch secondaries are no joke. And that fire coming in here, that's all the secondaries. Okay, maintaining distance, getting a little close for comfort here. We'll open up a bit. Let's open up slightly, just to make sure we stay out of torpedo range. And the Higgins is now going to smoke up, because she is going in for a torpedo run. But that means she has to pass by all these light cruisers over there. I think she's not in a particular... There's the sinking wreck of one of the of one of the German ships. She's not in a particularly good position though. She does need to get uncomfortably close to the enemy light cruisers in order to get her torpedoes away. That might be a little risky here. So we'll probably drop the torpedoes. Are not yet reloaded, so we'll drop torpedoes once we get a chance. Higgins is smoking. We'll get a little closer, and then she is drawing a lot of fire now. Deutschland is down from excessive fire. There might be more torpedoes incoming. Higgins is almost reloaded. I would like to get a good torpedo drop on that battleship off, and then Higgins can retreat from the battle, if she can make that. But yeah, she's not wanting the battle line to get all the glory. So she is going in, and she is going in hot. Okay, enemy torpedo drop. That unfortunately means Higgins does need to turn and evade that torpedo drop, which, given that the torpedoes are just not reloaded, is less than ideal. She would have been in a good position to launch right now. Oh no, she managed to get her torpedoes away. Okay, torpedoes away at the battleship. Higgins can retreat from here. She has fired her torpedoes, and we'll see if she is having success with that. Battle line is getting too far away now. We do need to turn both lines to make sure that we're not getting too far away. But Higgins is drawing a lot of attention. But I am more curious to see if where are her torpedoes? There they are. We'll see if she can land torpedo hits on the Fridtjof. So there come the Higgins torpedoes in, and she might be able to get 2 on target, unless the maybe these 2, 1 or 2. That one for sure. That one I'm not sure. Let's see. Maybe 1 torpedo or 2 torpedoes. The rear one here might be just passing by. Nope, that's 2 torpedo hits, a disabled rudder, and the flooding on the Fridtjof. Well done, Higgins. That should have caused quite some damage. And Higgins can retreat now. She's out of torpedoes. The battle lines are taking it from here. The battleships are fast enough that they don't have to worry about the enemy being able to disengage. And we are at 10-kilometer range and still raining death and destruction on these enemy cruisers. And the Fridtjof is not looking good. She's flooding all throughout from the Higgins' torpedo hits. Well done, Higgins. There is still the other battle line out there with a light cruiser in the lead, but we'll try to finish off. Yeah, Fridtjof and Frauenlob are down, so we can actually get the rear group here to start targeting the other battle group. So let's get these out of the way, and they do need to turn in somewhat. Such that they're not actually losing contact here. First group as well can turn in a bit more. Try to finish off that heavy cruiser over there. And we're going back up to 26 knots. Both groups back up to 26 knots. There we go. Although they are coming in aggressively even. 11-kilometer range is a bit long against the light cruiser, but they're coming in aggressively, so we can maintain this course. Whereas second group can maintain this course as well here, and catch up to this cruiser group back here and finish them off. Okay, they are no longer closing, so we'll close the range a little bit more with the Kansas's group, and New Hampshire's group as well needs to close a little bit more. Maintain 10-kilometer range. Perfect. It looks like the Germans have formed up their remaining forces in what looks like an actual battle line here. They have the Aegir and the Scharnhorst in the lead, and they're trying to consolidate their cruisers around this line. We are sailing somewhat in a parallel course here with our two battle lines now. And even though there's a relatively small cruiser force left, I don't want to get any closer than this because, again, of the torpedo threat. So, but we are landing the occasional 16-inch hit, and that is doing a fair amount of damage. And it looks like that the Germans are not interested in closing in either. The Aegir and the Scharnhorst seem to be happy to trade long-range fires, and the escorting cruisers are no longer interested. Now these things have 15.4-inch guns, and that means they are slightly underpowered when it comes to how many do they have? Well, it's pretty similar armament to what we have. So that's not a terrible decision not to close in the range here. But if their escorting forces are ineffective, they're definitely outgunned here. So if they want to fight at these ranges, I'm more than happy to do that. Because the Minneapolis's 8-inch guns are perfectly capable of actually hitting things, and it looks even that they might be willing to retreat at this point. But we are at a good range. We'll keep unloading at them. Okay, I'm going to start focusing my fire a little bit. So forward group target the Seydlitz, and the rear group is targeting the Thor. Or Tor, rather. It's a German ship. There is a light cruiser, the Hamburg, which seems to be relatively aggressive. So we might take Kansas's group secondaries and focus them on the light cruiser that seems to be rushing us here. But the main guns remain focused on the heavy cruiser over there. I'd like to start thinning the cruisers out so I can focus fire on the battleships. The light cruisers, the two cruisers here smoking up, both of them getting hammered by the secondaries now. Not sure if the main guns have already fired, but even against light cruisers, these 5-inch secondaries, yep, that's one down. That leaves the Hamburg. The 5-inch secondaries are no joke, and it's not just that; it's also the Minneapolis's 8-inch guns. So they are getting absolutely ripped apart here. Okay, that's the Hamburg down. That leaves the leading group here of cruisers. And so far we haven't managed to do an awful lot against the Seydlitz. What's the range now from the New Hampshire to Seydlitz? 8.4 kilometers. That is actually almost a bit too close. Oh, there were a couple of good hits. That was the Thor, yeah. These would have been the 16-inchers. And I think that's pretty much, that's her being done for. Yep, takes on a flash fire and goes down. Yep, she's sinking. Turret blew off and the ship's going down. Which means we actually have to turn a little bit. Second group as well. Because we are still sailing a parallel course, but the enemy's fleet is running very much out of cruisers at this point. Light cruisers are going down. There is still one left. So we might... okay, the Seydlitz is down. We might get the rear group to focus the secondary on the Bussard. And what is this in front here? That's definitely not a battle cruiser. That's another light cruiser smoking up. First group, please finish off what is left here. There is another, there's the Irene heavy cruiser. So first group, please finish that off. What's the range? 9.4 kilometer, but opening up, so we do need to close in a little bit. And Kansas group is still opening up with the secondaries on the Bussard. And then I think we can get the big guns starting to target the Aegir. So far, I know there's still another light cruiser out there, so let's focus the main guns at the Aegir and the secondaries at the Bussard. There's still another. There comes the secondary fire. That is just deadly. There's still another light cruiser out there, but I think she's too far away for a torpedo run. Whereas New Hampshire group is targeting Irene. Yes. So Bussard is heavily damaged and is disengaging. Haven't seen a main gun salvo hitting the Aegir just yet, but there's still a couple more screening ships. But I want these two battleships dead now, if we can manage. So all main guns trained, please, and keep turning in to get on parallel course here. Okay. Bussard has surrendered because literally everybody on board has died, which means that the Aegir is now our new target. So second group, there was another light cruiser out there, was there? Not sure. Okay, second group, all guns target the Aegir. And yeah, course looks good. So we'll see what that is going to do. First group is still taking the cruisers here under fire, and the Aegir has just burnt. She's taken so much fire from, I think, the secondaries almost, that she's just gone down. So in that case, target the Scharnhorst, please, with all guns. First group, what is our range? 8.7 kilometers. That's workable. New Hampshire group is just continuously unloading at the cruisers, and something just exploded. Yep, the Irene has just blown up. Yeah. I don't even know what that was. 16-inch fire mostly. We'll have to look in the results later and see who's actually done the damage here. But Kansas group is focusing on the Scharnhorst now. Main guns with armor piercing, but secondaries obviously with the high explosive. Scharnhorst is pretty much battle worthy and undamaged, so we'll see what happens here. But even just the secondaries of these ships, I mean, she doesn't have a chance. But even just the secondaries of these ships are enough to cause significant fire damage. We might actually target the secondaries on that cruiser there and just target the Scharnhorst with the main guns. And landing good hits with the 16-inchers. Scharnhorst is looking very much worse for wear. And Scharnhorst is sinking. That was that from those hits, which leaves a couple of cruisers. But I think the Germans at this point are out of their heavy forces. I think what's left, whatever that was, we haven't even identified it yet. But we looked at it and it blew up. She didn't even get to a full stop yet, and she's already sinking. Ramming into the Brummer, which is a light cruiser. And I think we can risk getting a little closer now with the heavy forces. There's still light cruisers out there, 7.5 kilometer. That is torpedo range. So let's not risk things. Let's speed up a bit. 27 knots on the second group, 27 knots on the first group, just to get away from any kind of eventual torpedoes. In the last seconds of the battle, focus on the Brummer, please, on the light cruiser. It's all guns on target. All ahead full. Open up the distance. Actually, all ahead flank. Open up the distance. Outrun any potential torpedoes, and get those guns on target. And that one is done for. The Arcona is next. And where's the other group? Groups here. Yep. We are. I think they are trying to come in for a desperate torpedo run. So getting the Kansas group to all ahead flank was the right choice. And New Hampshire has the range. What's our range? 6.9 kilometers. All ahead flank as well. Open up a little bit. Yeah, I think they're trying to do desperate torpedo runs at this point. So let's open up the range here a little bit, and make sure that that we take out any kind of remaining light forces without running into torpedoes. Those light cruisers, especially if they're smoking up, are actually relatively difficult to hit at these ranges. But there's a whole group of them, probably going for the final charge of the light brigade here, which is a significant torpedo threat. So we do have to be somewhat careful. Slow down again to 24 knots while we are passing this group, and we've got the second group around the Kansas closing in as well. We're gonna speed that group up a little bit. Oh, nice hits here. What were those? That was a 16-inch effectively destruction of a ship. So something should be sinking here in a second that we've hit in that smoke. There's so many of them in there, in that smoke screen. Whatever it was, yes, it is now sinking. It has effectively been blown up by a 16-inch shell. And we'll get the Kansas group a little closer, trying to finish off the remaining light cruisers. And with that, the last light cruiser is going down in a massive fireball. And the German Navy has just been exposed to the new generation of American battle fleet and has not been doing well. They have lost 3 battleships, 6 heavy cruisers, 12 light cruisers, and 6 destroyers, without inflicting any noticeable damage on the American battle fleet. These new guns mean that the desperate attempts of interrupting the landings have failed, and the British are now in trouble. Damage dealt. The Kansas, with her 18-inch guns, has done 160,000 damage. She hasn't hit a huge amount of times, but these 10 hits have done so much damage it was absolutely catastrophic. New Hampshire has done pretty well as well. The second Kansas class battleship, even though she only has 16-inch guns, followed by the rest of them, and even Higgins, who was mostly there as a scout, has done a fair amount of damage. The most damage actually dealt by the Germans was from the light cruiser Cormoran, who managed to get a torpedo hit somewhere. But that was about it. So, very convincing victory there. And with that, the German fleet has been reduced to 2 battleships, 8 heavy cruisers, 14 light cruisers, and a bunch of destroyers and submarines. The British still have a noticeable fleet, but I think with the naval landings 2 months from completion, and the additional battle fleet now in the theater, and I think the British offensive into the Dominican Republic Can't. Oh, there we go. The British offensive into the Dominican Republic nowhere near finishing. I think we should be relatively good to go there. We've also removed the German threat from the eastern seaboard, and once the ships here, this fleet has taken damage and needs to return to the Washington shipyard for repairs. But once they've done that, we can start doing invasions of the Bermudas and similar, and try to clear out as much as we can from the British side in the Caribbean. The war isn't won yet, but at least Germany has been taking catastrophic losses in the last engagements.